found of militant Islam. One calls itself the Islamic Republic, the other calls itself the Islamic State. Both want to impose a militant Islamic empire, first on the region and then on the entire world. They just disagree among themselves who will be the ruler of that empire. So when it comes to Iran and ISIS, the enemy of your enemy is your enemy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to effort Bill Kristol, founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You know, that's one of the most important lines from the speech. It really, really is. Because what's common wisdom? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. No, no. We have heard, and I don't put it past this administration to be cooperating with Iran when it comes to fighting ISIS in some, secretive way. But Bill Kristol is here, and Bill, welcome, sir, as always.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Great to talk to you, thank you, and great piece, Netanyahu's moment. It was quite a moment. I mean, it was amazing, wasn't it?
It was. I had the honor of being there. I got offered a ticket in the gallery, and it really was moving, I would say, and I just wrote a little thing about this. I mean, as a Jew, to see, just at the very beginning, honestly, when the doorkeeper, I guess he is, has that announces, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister of Israel, and it really, you thought, gee, wow, most of our history, there hasn't been a Prime Minister of Israel, there hasn't been a State of Israel, and it really matters that there is one, and Netanyahu spoke as both the Prime Minister of Israel and on behalf of the Jewish people, but obviously I think as really the leader of the West, he tried to tell Americans that they had to step up and be serious about the world, which unfortunately our president doesn't seem to want to do. And so I was proud of Netanyahu, and it was both a moving and a kind of amazing experience.
Now, you didn't mention that you cried or wanted to cry, no matter how proud you were, no matter how emotional you might have been. But Nancy Pelosi wanted to cry for other reasons. She found the speech to be condescending, and if you watched her outrageous behavior during the speech, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
It is amazing, but you know what struck me, and I talked to some members afterwards, including some Democrats, at this little reception, and you could agree with what he said or disagree with some of the things that Netanyahu said. He gave a grown-up speech. He made an argument for, 20-25 minutes, and the substantive part of the speech, maybe even longer, about the deal, why it was a bad deal, why there were other alternatives, what was wrong with the deal, why you shouldn't have a sunset clause. I mean, it's such a contrast to the way Obama argues about anything, or doesn't argue about anything. It's just cartoons with Obama, one or two sentence sound bites, and that's it. I really thought, some of the members said this to me, that this gave them confidence that there are good arguments out there. They could make them. They could go on TV or radio and make the case why we don't need and don't want this deal, why it's a dangerous deal. And I think the reaction of some of the Democrats, President Obama himself, but obviously Nancy Pelosi, they don't want to have a debate. They don't want to have any kind of substantive debate about actual policy.
And what about I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what about the media? Gloria Borger with Ari Fleischer said, she said that Netanyahu really politicized it by bringing up the Holocaust, and to his credit, Ari Fleischer really responded and put her in her place and said that's the history of the Jewish people. Then you had Chris Matthews say, among others, saying that the Prime Minister tried to hijack U.S. foreign policy, and still others. Surprisingly enough, Charles Krauthammer had to really disagree with his fellow panel members on a show you're familiar with Bret Baier, where they were kind of saying that the purpose of the speech was to get the U.S. to bomb Iran and go to war for Israel. And he said that's almost libelous, was his word. He said Israel has never asked the United States to fight its battle. So what do you make of this presentation that this is all about trying to get the U.S. to, again, like the accusations were with the Iraq war, it's Israel and the Jews that want us to go to war?
No, this is the Obama line. I think he's come close to saying a version of that, hasn't he? That Bob Menendez was doing what he was doing for sanctions because of his donors and all that. So, it's the opposite of the truth. Netanyahu was out of his way to stress that the Jewish people now have a state. They can defend themselves. They're proud to defend themselves. But this isn't just a matter of Israel defending itself. It's a matter of the U.S. and a bunch of other countries in a negotiation with Iran that is going to strengthen Iran. And so it's obviously of great interest to Israel, but it should be of great interest to us. I think this is the kind of desperation people engage in when they don't want to debate it. I mean, think about this. How many left-wingers have you seen who are willing to actually debate the substance of Iran policy, the substance of Obama's foreign policy? Netanyahu gave a sophisticated speech. And I think it's really going to help in the domestic debate here. Those people who are a little bit on the fence, a little worried about taking on people like Obama and some of the left-wing media, I think now think, you know what, there's some pretty good arguments I can make here.
And he forced Obama's hand, and the day before, Obama had to talk and admit about the 10-year limit and the one-year breakout, which I think a lot of Congress people had no idea about until Netanyahu said it. Okay, Bill, great to see you, sir. Thank you very much.
Be well, Steve.
Take care. You too. All right, folks. Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army, Fox News strategic analyst Ralph Peters, the one and only. He will be next. Don't go away.